Absolute Superman is being hunted, but why? The Peacemakers see him as a threat, and the Omega Men claim to be his allies. But can they really be trusted? This issue continues the story of an alternate version of Superman in the Absolute Universe, a reality shaped by Darkseid's influence. After the Lazarus Corporation's devastating attack in Brazil, Agent Lois Lane is determined to track down Superman. The story opens with Lois working to earn the trust of those who have crossed paths with Superman, hoping to frame him as someone who needs her intervention, both to prevent harm to himself and to protect others. One of these individuals is a young Egyptian woman, a survivor of abuse at the hands of the so-called Peacemakers, a group operating under Lois's command. Lois takes justice into her own hands, beating the abusing Peacemaker, followed by tasing him directly in the mouth before snapping his fingers. She then walks away like a boss, casually informing the man that he is now under arrest. The narrative shifts back to the people Lois previously interviewed, as they reflect on how their interactions with Superman profoundly altered their lives and beliefs. The abused Egyptian woman confesses a deep fear that the Lazarus Corporation will push Superman into such uncontrollable fury that he will destroy them all, something she secretly prays for. Next, we find Lois standing amid the wreckage of Orangi Town, Pakistan, still searching for Superman, only to be interrupted by a call from her father, General Lane. He's furious that she no longer wants the Peacemakers accompanying her on the mission to capture Superman. Lois firmly states that their presence only worsens the situation, repeatedly breaking the trust of the very people whose cooperation she needs. During their tense exchange, General Lane also introduces the Omega Men, whom he labels as terrorists, though his reasoning for doing so remains unclear. Later, we see Lois Lane resuming her search for Superman, unaware that two mysterious figures are secretly watching her every move. The scene shifts to a peacemaker known as Smith, who is undergoing therapy after indiscriminately opening fire on bystanders during a chaotic confrontation where Superman had taken down several peacemakers. The Brainiac AI attempts to manipulate the narrative, reframing the incident as an unfortunate accident, something that deeply unsettles Peacemaker Smith. During her search, Lois ends up face-to-face with one of the individuals who had been tailing her. He reveals himself as a member of the Omega Men and tries to persuade her that Lazarus is a malevolent organization. Before she can fully react, he turns the tables on her, momentarily blinding her. But Lois quickly recovers and fights back, regaining control of the situation. However, he counters with a swift move, holding her at gunpoint while continuing his argument that Lazarus is responsible for the widespread suffering around the world. At that moment, his ally Omega Prime suddenly appears and opens fire on Lois. Hearing the distant gunshots, the Peacemakers spring into action, with Peacemaker Smith taking the lead as they rush toward Lois's location. Amid the gunfire exchange, Lois commands Brainiac to switch their weapons to non-lethal rounds, but the AI blatantly disregards her order. Then, in an instant, her gun is sliced clean in half. Standing before her is Omega Prime, wielding a sword infused with raw energy, ready to engage Lois in close combat. In an unexpected twist, the other Omega member arrives and turns his weapon, not on Lois, but on Omega Prime. Before anyone can process what's happening, Superman arrives with such overwhelming force that the Omega Men are sent hurtling backward. In the background, a shadowy figure takes shape. It's Superman, hovering silently in the air. Then, with an earth-shattering impact, he lands. The sheer force of it, cracking the concrete beneath him. Omega Prime desperately urges Superman to join her, insisting that the Omega Men are on his side in the fight against Lazarus. But with a mere flick of his hand, he sends her flying backward. Angrily, Superman warns Lois to stop chasing after him, just as the Peacemakers, with weapons drawn, closes in. Before they can pull the trigger, he unleashes a powerful blast of his super breath, instantly encasing the Peacemakers in ice. Lois calls out, trying to stop him from leaving, but without a word, Superman takes off into the sky. Later, Omega Prime confronts the other Omega member, who is revealed to be Jimmy Olsen, questioning his loyalty after he deliberately chose not to shoot Lois when he had the chance. Jimmy calmly replies that in time, He believes Lois will come to understand their cause and see the truth the way the Omega Men do. In the final panel, Peacemaker Smith stands trembling, his expression wild and unhinged as someone orders him to stand down. We also hear commands to disarm him and place him in restraints, a sign he has done something terribly wrong. It turns out Peacemaker Smith is deeply rattled, convinced that the bystanders were mocking them while they were frozen by Superman's attack. The full panel zooms out, revealing a horrifying scene, a massacre. It appears that Peacemaker Smith, in a blind frenzy, has gunned down every single bystander, an act that could push Superman into a violent, vengeful rage in the next issue. I have to say, Absolute Superman continues to be one of the greatest comic series in recent years. What do you think about this issue? Share your thoughts in the comments below.